Hello, everybody. Welcome to Astrolunachick's Guide to the Universe. I am your host, Astrolunachick, aka Susan, and I'm here to talk about the weekly astrology weather. Uh, I'm recording this right now on the 24th. So this is really going to focus on the week of the 25th through Sunday, October 2nd. So as it stands right now, we're in a Mercury retrograde. The moon is waning. It's still in Virgo because I am recording this on the 24th. So we are in the dark of the moon. And the dark of the moon is the roughly 2 days before the actual conjunction of the sun and the moon, the new moon. So it is the last ounce of energy that we have that began with the last new moon. So it's a time of wrapping things up, releasing things. I like to try to check things off my list. Really just putting finishing touches on things. The energy is very low. There's not a whole lot left in the energy of the moon cycle. So you'll find it's not a great time to start something completely new because the energy just isn't there for it, you know. So what I like to do is kind of take stock, realize what I have accomplished, where I'm at in my process, and I start to get ideas of where I want to go, where based on what I see happening with the planets and just what type of energy I feel is available and what we're working on collectively, personally. And so, like, I know what I've been dealing with for the past month. I know where I am at in the process. I know what I'm done with. I know what I still have to kind of wrap up a little bit. And we are really, even though we're going to have a new moon tomorrow and it starts a new energetic cycle, there's still stuff that we are wrapping up with the Mercury retrograde. So I'm going to start to share my screen here so that you can see where we're at, what it looks like in the chart. Okay, so this is where we are at today while I am recording this. This is Saturday, just before the new moon. And the date, the 24th, reduces down to a 3. So we're at the 3 in the 9, 1 through 9 energy process. If you're new to my show, I explained in previous shows where I look at the date and I look at it's a cycle within a cycle, the 1 through 9. And at the 9, we start the next day with the 1. So it starts, it ends, and then begins. So we're at a 3 as far as the date goes for the 24th. And so if you look to the left of the chart, we've got the moon in Virgo, So it's just gathering up the last bits of the cycle through the energy of Virgo. So Virgo has to do with analyzing data, details, discriminating between this and that. Um, Metaphorically speaking, we're checking things off the list, we're cleaning out the closet, we are emotionally unloading our baggage, so to speak. We may be concerned about health issues, so that can be coming up right now. The moon in its waning phase is disseminating, so it's throwing off. So it's a good time for detoxing. If you do intermittent fasting, the waning moon is always the best phase in the moon to do a detox because your body is naturally releasing. Uh, if if you do that, I think to do a 24-hour fast in the waning moon, I mean that's a great thing to do if you can do it. Um, you can definitely releasing toxins, whether it's emotional or physical, because the moon um, makes a sextile to the south node in Scorpio, and Scorpio does have to do with poisons and toxins. So this is also a good toxic emotional uh, release. I mean, releasing toxic emotions, let's say. And, I think we can observe during all these transits through Virgo that health came up over the past lunar cycle. Um, Things to do with the working class, that's Virgo. Um, the helping professions, like nurses, first responders, teachers all fall under the heading. And, there were strikes, and those are still in negotiation. And I don't really think that anything will get sorted out until Mercury goes direct and then passes through its shadow. So just looking at the timing. All right. So this is what we're wrapping up. Mercury in Virgo, retrograde, Venus in Virgo, and they're about to come into exact conjunction. And so also Moon making a square to Mars, probably feeling like time is running out and needing to make a decision or taking action. We could feel a sense of urgency with that. And also, really kind of all the Virgo energy has brought a lot of nervous anxiety, a little OCD kind of a feeling, even if you're not necessarily prone to that. But if you have strong Virgo placements and if you have Gemini or Sag or Pisces placements also, even the Scorpio and Taurus, because that can activate those placements too. But if you're naturally prone to sort of OCD, obsessive compulsive, and anxiety, and sort of monkey brain, um, that kind of thing, this could have been definitely a time where that would have been stirred up for people. But I mean, the whole point of it really is to be able to kind of observe yourself and realize what it is that's perhaps toxic or not healthy, not helpful, in terms of our thought processes, emotional things that we're clinging on to. This has really been a good Mercury retrograde cycle to get rid of some sort of emotional baggage. But this is just the last bits of it before we can start to feel like we're kind of moving forward. So going into the 25th, we're at a 4. The date reduces to a 4. And we start the day off on Sunday just before the new moon with the moon conjuncting Venus, Mercury at the last few degrees of Virgo, and it's really, really getting in there to force us to think, force us to realize something that can have to do with relationships and sort of this idea of trying to perfect things. So some people, I mean, it'll affect everybody differently. But this is really the wrap up and the culmination and like the peak moment, so to speak, of like obsessiveness or any kind of projection and criticism and blaming and shaming and that kind of a dynamic, or even the blame that we put on ourselves. But at the same time, it is helping us to perfect ourselves, our relationships, our thought processes, and helping us to streamline, um, filter out distractions. I mean, this is like also because we've been having the square to Mars and Gemini. So Mars and Gemini square to the planets over the past month in Virgo, going through Virgo. I mean, that's just major ADD, ADHD issues being triggered. Those things could have come up. And, I feel like with the Mars making a trine to Saturn starting on the 25th, we might start to feel a little bit more stabilized because Mars in Gemini is that like that that motor, like that ADD motor that just keeps running, 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 right? And perhaps the Saturn will bring a little stabilization, hopefully. Um, but there's just a lot of pressure with Venus and Mercury. Mercury is the communication, and in retrograde, it's very strong. So there are a lot of details and analysis when it comes to anything Venus related. So relationships, women, finances, in terms of, the like labor union strikes. This is all the negotiation. And even though the sun has moved into Libra, which it did on the 23rd, no, 22nd, I think. Hang on. It's the 22nd. 22nd into the 23rd. So we've had the fall equinox. This is the balancing of the scales. This is the harvest of everything that was started and progressed through Aries season. We now get to Libra season, and it's reaping the harvest. It's disseminating the spoils, so to speak, reaping what we sow. And so the sun moving into Libra is seeking more balance. Doesn't mean that things automatically are balanced, because I mean, that's the thing about Libra. Everyone associates it with balance, but it doesn't come in naturally balanced. It comes in to seek balance. So in the course of the journey of seeking balance, we come up against situations where things are not in balance, and we are challenged to try to look at things from both perspectives, not just ourselves, but the other party. So it is about diplomacy, and hopefully there will be talks of diplomacy, but there's a lot going on with this, the dark of the moon. So really, it's overnight on the 25th, early. We don't even know that this stuff is going on. This is all the stuff going on behind the scenes that we will not really get details of, whatever it is, or clarity, because also don't forget, all this week, Venus was opposing Neptune, which was kind of obscuring things, not clear. And there was opportunity here for deception or glossing things over, or missing some details, not seeing things, or having things hidden from us. So it'll take a little while to sort itself out once Mercury goes direct. So a lot is going on here. So make note of whatever comes up with your intuition. Whatever you notice, pay attention to the details, pay attention to what people are saying, how they're saying it, or what they're not saying. Just pay attention. Because it's everything that we don't see here going on behind the scenes. And, ask for your guidance to show you what you need to see, because we also have the sun about to oppose Jupiter, which is the truth. So there is truth coming out at this time. This is the 25th. This is Sunday. So stuff that's going on over the weekend, we hear about it on Monday. So we're going to have the new moon at 3 degrees of Libra. Late in the day on Sunday. Mid-afternoon if you're on the West Coast, and around dinner time-ish, around 5 o'clock if you're on the East Coast. So 2 degrees, 3 degrees, we round it up. 3 degrees of Libra starts out, we've already had the fall ingress where the sun entered Libra. Now we have the new moon officially kicking off that Libra energy, and it comes in with an opposition to Jupiter. So Jupiter's been trying to show us something. Jupiter represents a lot of things. It represents taking a higher spiritual perspective, a higher perspective in general, higher education, legal and the law profession, lawyers, judges, people that are involved in any way with the legal system, advocates, mediators, this also has to do with our personal truth because it is in Aries. And Jupiter entered Aries and we started a new cycle with Jupiter. Um, it really is about the individual and the individual's personal truth, um, and also laws and legal issues and changes having to do with the law. There was a lot of, I mean, there are right now suits and countersuits all over the place. It's huge. I mean, obviously lawsuits are going on all the time, but the lawsuits that are happening right now have a great bearing on our future. And it's interesting. So keeping up with that has been fun. So something happens with the new moon. There is some kind of new start here, with our, let's say, the sun, which is our ego, our identity, the life force, and the moon, which is our internal, our emotional processes. And so it just starts a new cycle, and the cycle is marked by an opposition to Jupiter. So this is about balancing Aries and Libra, my needs, my beliefs, and the beliefs and needs of the other person. So it is about honoring both sides and both parties being able to bring their um, case, so to speak. But it is a time to try to balance things out between ourselves and other people. Karmically, there was a lot of the wrap up in Virgo had a lot to do with the past and discriminating the details and the memories and sorting things out so that we can energetically clean out our closet, let things go from the past, whether we are literally or figuratively confronting people, having conversations. That was all going on with the Mercury in retrograde being conjunct to the sun, having this like realization, perhaps some kind of an epiphany, or maybe even a feeling um, that the mind itself is able to better let go of whatever is being processed, whatever kind of mental shift has been going on. Um, it's almost like defragmentation of our memory banks. And maybe there were some viruses in there. Neptune in Pisces. Anyway, so we start off the week on Sunday with the new moon. Now, the new moon is conjunct asteroid Iris at 1 degree of Libra. And so Iris is one of the interpretations is that she's a Greek goddess and she is a messenger between heaven and earth. So when you think about the rainbow, that kind of symbolizes sort of like a bridging. And we think about the rainbow bridge, right? And so Iris, and I associate it with the rainbow. And because in Spanish I think of arco iris, which is the term for rainbow, arco, arc, iris. So that's significant. because the new moon carries the energy of Iris. And I'm not sure what the flower Iris symbolizes. If you're interested in that, and maybe you know, you can look it up and leave a comment about that. And it can also literally have to do with somebody by the name of Iris. I've seen that happen synchronistically with the asteroids. So it's interesting coming out of just like on the heels of the fall equinox. We are bridging from one season into the next, not just one season, but like halfway through the year. So it's bringing us from one part of the year into the next half of the year, in a sense, bridging heaven and earth, and thinking about, we have earthly justice and then we have heavenly justice. And while there is no real time and space, we are subject to time and space here, and we don't always see justice in our situations. But knowing that there is a system and, let's say, spiritual law, natural law, where everything does have to be balanced. Everything does get balanced at some point. There is a cause and effect. And so, I think that prayer and meditation does help when we're going through something where we feel like there's a lack of justice, and asking for justice. That's like my karma now, asking for justice. And it really does work. Um, so whatever that means personally for each of us individually, how we look at Iris, rainbows, rainbow bridge, the concept of there being a messenger between us and the divine, or maybe it is that part of ourself that is a spark of the divine that we can tap into to be able to communicate with the other side, so to speak. So looks like a really interesting new moon. I don't really see any other aspects per se, but just generally speaking, an opposition to Jupiter can bring increase. It can bring an increase in faith and optimism, on the one hand, but also it can bring excess and feeling, maybe acting rashly with a over optimistic view, or it can also represent greed and excess and waste. And I've been looking at Jupiter retrograde, um, being in Aries, and I mean, it functions on many different levels, but one of the things that I've been seeing is that a lot of the legal issues aren't just, let's say, one person filing a lawsuit against another, but there are legal issues going on between um, powerful people in government, let's say governors, and, like state government versus federal government and vice versa. So it's almost like the legal system itself is turning inward on itself, which is interesting because when we talk about retrograde planets, oftentimes we think of it as being inward focused, where the focus of the energy of the planet turns inward. So this is, I think, um, I really feel like what we might start to see, well, I've already started to see it, but I feel like it's going to become more obvious where it's like spy versus spy and different branches of the government opposing or investigating, going after other branches and um, not necessarily branches, but agencies, whatever it is, law enforcement. Um, yeah, that's very interesting. That's what I see coming. Just because that's what I kind of saw with the Jupiter retrograde and when Mercury retrograde opposed it, I was like, okay, wait a minute. There's a lot of infighting. There's a lot of infighting going on. Um, and yeah, different parts of government and leadership going after one another. Anyway, I mean, there's lawsuits filed like against the governor, DeSantis, Florida, for shuffling the migrants, immigrants. Are they migrants or are they immigrants? Anyway, yeah, that's very interesting. So, hmm, that starts off our week. So then that, well, it's not really, that's Sunday. Monday starts off our week. And getting into Monday, we've got Monday the 26th. It's a 5-day moon in Libra. This is very productive. If you need to get anything done, I think that you should have the resources and the information that you need to take the next step. Definitely the energy will be there for it. And I think we'll feel kind of pushed because it almost feels like a crunch time to get everything. It almost feels like the energy of this week is get everything done. It seems that so many things have been stalled because either lack of information or resources or energy or opportunity. There will be an opportunity. There will be somebody to help, possibly. So this is the 26th. That's Monday. It's a 5-day. Fives tend to be a little chaotic sometimes in the sense of maybe very busy, could be kind of challenging. So Moon in Libra, again, we're at the new moon. Right after the new moon, we would have seen a square from the moon in Libra to Pallas Athena in Cancer. So we may have had some strategies come up. It feels like a fresh influx of energy to tackle things, perhaps with a new strategy. Um, that could come in with that Pallas Athena. The moon will oppose Chiron. So this kind of feels like needing to stand up for yourself, needing to protect the gains that you've already made. There can be a discussion, a conversation with Mercury and Venus at 27 degrees of Virgo. There's some kind of discussion here, and it's still sort of behind the scenes, but it is maybe that somebody came in to help. Maybe there's some kind of an alliance and a discussion going on that we don't quite know about. When I did the podcast last week and I was looking at the Mercury retrograde and looking at the unions and the negotiations and strikes and everything, and I mentioned whistleblowers. And since then, all week, there's been a lot of talk about whistleblowers. I haven't kept up with the union stuff. It came up in other places. People coming out and speaking, information coming out that we didn't know about. There was an FBI whistleblower who uh, talked about the fact that resources were being taken away from investigating child trafficking and put into the January 6th committee. Whistleblower. So, I mean, we think about whistleblowers being connected to corporations, company whistleblowers, Twitter whistleblower, um, governmental type things, situations, but it can happen anywhere. It can happen in the workplace. I was thinking, would there be something that came out with the unions? It doesn't matter, actually, because there's a lot going on here that it's going to take some time for us for it to be made aware, make us be made aware of these things. Because also, in the 26th, Monday, the conjunction between Venus and Mercury is making a trine to Pluto in Capricorn, which has everything to do with government, power, the old power structure. You know, most of you, if you've been following astrology, have heard the United States is having its Pluto return, and it's returning to the degree of Pluto when we broke free from Great Britain, and established our colonies and our independence and all of that, 1776. So we are literally witnessing the collapse of the old structure, yet while the new structure is being built at the same time. Now, it's very interesting that we have this conjunction with Venus and Mercury, because in Virgo, it does represent um, the working class, and Venus is finances and quality of life, and Virgo is somewhat of a struggle sign and sort of feeling lacking or less than, um, and making that trine to Pluto. It's almost as if there's a coming together of people of similar values and getting information and having conversations and getting ready to expose some things about this Pluto here, because the Virgo details and the receipts are going to be used to um, determine which way, in which direction the tower will fall, so to speak, because that Pluto and Capricorn, that's the old system, and so we're witnessing the fall of this civilization, and we're moving into a whole new world. Of course, that takes time. That doesn't happen overnight. And the thing about the apocalypse, and we were, we're in the apocalypse, but it's apocalyptic times in the sense that apocalypse means the unveiling, the revealing, the rending of the veil of secrecy, the veil of denial, right? So that has everything to do with the Neptune here in Pisces, and it has been sextiling to Pluto. So it is assisting in dissolving the separation between our mind and our body and our spirit and our soul, which on some level in our spirit and soul we know, but it's our mind and our ego that can cloud our vision, or our vision can be clouded because we're being manipulated. So Pluto, it has a lot to do with manipulation. In an everyday sense, we may still be feeling a little bit anxious and nervous and on edge because it almost seems like everything is threatening to collapse all at once. And, the situation going on in Europe with um, Russia, that's just amping up to a new level, which is very interesting because you could see the propaganda. I mean, I know from looking at the astrology from months back, like about 3 months back, and thinking, all right, it may seem to ease off a little bit, but then get to fall, uh, uh, then we're going to see a new phase of this. It's not just going away. Putin's not backing down. It's moving forward, but on a different level in a different direction. But what I saw in the few days leading up to the week leading up to his speech was, with they've been defeated, they're withdrawing. And every time that that's happened and he's sort of scaled back a little bit, you get these news reports of, that's it, he's running with his tail between his legs. And next thing you know, he's got another strategy. He's just decided to do something different now. And he is a martial artist, so he does understand war. And he is a Libra. Well, that's the other thing. So the reason why I felt that this was going to ramp up again in the fall, September into October, is because his Libra planets will be activated. So being a Libra, he definitely understands diplomacy, fairness, and balance. Um, so, you know, that's the mindset that he's coming from. And so there will be a great focus on Russia. I mean, there already is, but I just think it's ridiculous how they put things out. I never listen to news reports. That's why I never listen to what the general mainstream is saying, because it's usually the opposite. And there's always a reason why they're telling you what they tell you, because they want you to think a certain thing. But if you dig, it's not what's going on under the surface. And then you always have to ask why. Why are they telling? Why do they? Oh, why are they trying to make it look like he's defeated and he's withdrawing? No, there's the war strategy here. Anyway, there's stuff going on here. So this is also economic things, news, financial, and this old system that is collapsing. And that is Monday. What else do we see going on here? Well, it should be a productive day if you want to get things done, because we're looking at Mars trine to the moon, Mars in Gemini at 19. So the moon later in the day is going to make a grand trine between Mars in Gemini, Saturn in Aquarius, and the moon will be at 19-20 degrees of Libra when that happens. So this could be a really good time to get things done. We could maybe see a call for more peace and diplomacy, um, drawing boundaries, setting boundaries. That can be Saturn, or taking a more detached look at what we're trying to get accomplished, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to communicate with that Mars, and looking at what our commitments and our restrictions and our boundaries. This could also be um, finding allies, looking at who our allies are in situations. Again, the moon does oppose Chiron, so we are looking at some kind of hurt, wounding, ego stuff coming up. Um, and every time we have some kind of aspect to Chiron, we are looking at the level of healing and the progress where we're at. So it is about our selfhood and our identity and independence, being a sovereign individual or a sovereign nation, and facing the threat, whatever the threat may be. 26, 27, Tuesday, that's a 6. I usually see with evens and odds, I don't look at the numerology so much. I mean, I can if I'm specifically analyzing a date, I'll look at the numerology. But in terms of generally speaking, numerology of dates, I'm looking at it just as the 1 through 9 and evens and odds. So evens tend to be a time where there is a little more balance, reciprocity, things kind of even out, whereas odd days seem to be a little bit like bouncing around, maybe a little bit of struggle or chaos. All right, so earlier in the day on the 27th, so Tuesday could be a little bit of intensity because we do still have Mercury trining to Pluto. Venus has moved off that a little bit, but the moon is going to make a square to Pluto. So there's some emotional intensity going on here. Could dredge up power and control dynamics and fears. Because Pluto and Capricorn is bringing a lot of fear of things ending, fear of loss of control. Moon in Libra wants to balance things out, which within ourselves, we know that we can't hold on to a situation forever and we can't control everything. So we may be looking at our relationships, we may be looking at our own sort of impulsive need to control issues, information, people, money. That's all this Mercury and Venus in Virgo still making a trine to Pluto, which, trines are positive aspects, but when you're positively aspecting something that is difficult, it means we get a chance to work on it. So there is something here that we're hearing or realizing or trying to communicate, or trying to get a hold on what is going on here. And a lot of this could be financial. I don't know what's going on. I know So this is Saturday when I'm recording this. I know the stock market did pretty crappy over the weekend. So going into Monday, we may still be facing some of those issues. And, maybe like thinking about taking action about our own finances, how we're going to handle our finances. And when it comes to relationships, our energy and our resources, because this Pluto really needs to let something die. Either it's an old way of being or old patterns, old relationships, old needing it's just this idea of, having the upper hand, playing the game, having a facade, uh, and using that in a sense to maintain the upper hand and keep your power in the dynamic of a relationship, if you're talking about relationships. And the moon in Libra is going to ask us to try to balance things out and see things from the other person's perspective, or really seeing if we're doing the inner work. That could be the Mercury and Venus in Virgo there. Virgo, we associate with the Hermit card, going within, seeking our inner light, and looking at ourselves rather than looking at a relationship and saying, well, that person, they're not good enough, or, being that perfectionistic, nitpicky side of Virgo, where we just find the flaws in the other person until, like, we don't even know why we want to be, like, we talk ourselves out of even loving them because they're just too flawed. So, the relationship can't work. Um, so I would hope that with the new cycle, we start to look at, what are the real deal breakers? Because we do need people around us that share our values, and maybe even coming to terms with people that we thought shared our values, but indeed did not share our values, all of that kind of stuff. So that's Tuesday. So into Wednesday. Wednesday is a 7. It's the 28th. We have some releasing to do with the moon conjunct the south node in Scorpio, which I'm finding has a lot to do with secrets and information and scandals and stuff getting released. Also, a lot of people passing with this Scorpio South Node, a lot of secrets and hidden things that are Scorpio, associated with Scorpio, the underworld, criminality, manipulation. The South Node in Scorpio has been forcing those things to the surface. So as the moon is starting to grow in strength, we are going to come up with something. It's a good day in general. The moon in Scorpio. Scorpio energy is really good for researching. Um, we're still dealing with the Virgo, Mercury, and Venus. So if it's anything financial, if you have to go over I don't know, taxes. I say taxes because it's Scorpio. Um, or if there's any kind of digging around investigations, there could be some things coming out. but definitely pursuit of hidden information happening. Not really much else. Through the course of the day, we'll have a square to Saturn, but let's see what time that happens. Well, pretty late in the day because that moon conjunct the south node is 4 o'clock West Coast, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. So maybe we're not really hearing too much about it, but overnight, when does that happen? Huh. It is overnight when the moon squares Saturn. So there could be something having to do with government, um, restriction, some kind of something coming out, because also the moon is going to oppose Uranus. Though that has been bringing a lot of shocking and unexpected type changes, but this is also triggering the Saturn Uranus square where we're trying to expand into the future and change our sense of stability, our resources, the financial system. Um, so this might not be good for stock market or investments. And making a square to Saturn. Saturn is delays and restrictions. So it's also making an inconjunct the moon to Mars, maybe some anger or frustration. Um, there can be some anger and frustration because we're confronting obstacles and delays. And this triggers the underlying psychological patterning, what's going on under the scenes, what's hidden in the psyche or the subconscious. So, this can be some violence and plotting of revenge. Now, also on the 29th, we have Venus going into Libra on that day. So, this is bringing more of a focus towards that diplomacy and balance and harmony in relationships. Females in general will probably benefit